Welcome to the Healthusiasm podcast, a panel discussion on innovations in health and self-care. My name is Christophe. I'm a health business expert, author, and professional keynote speaker. Every month, I discuss with a panel of experts the positive changes that are shaping our health and happiness. But not this time. This episode is just me, reporting back from the BAM Congress I recently visited. Well, it won't just be me, because you'll hear from 5 people I've interviewed at the Congress. But first, the Congress itself. If you're not familiar with the BAM Congress, it's the annual event of the Belgian Association of Marketing. It's an event for marketeers and marketing agencies. The event focuses on all things marketing. And I was there to talk with marketeers about health consumer marketing. Now, why would I specifically make an entire episode on this? Well, it is because I'm organizing an event myself together with Bart Collet and Leo Exter. Bart Collet is from HyperAdventure. He is a health tech and innovation expert. And Leo Exter is from Hack Belgium, and he is a health ecosystem expert. The 3 of us are setting up an event on the 4th and 5th of February in Antwerp, Belgium, for companies that previously had little to no affinity in health. Think about postal services, supermarkets, gyms, media and food companies, longevity clinics, and maybe some pharma companies or patient associations or organizations we might invite as well. The purpose of that event is to inspire about the healthusiasm trend, the macro trend that says that people, consumers, are more than ever looking for companies and brands to help them with their health and well-being. But we also make them experience healthusiasm. It won't just be about inspiration. It will also be about the healthusiasm experience. And we will do so by introducing them to some health and wellness clinics and solutions. In fact, on the 5th, we will be visiting one of the most impressive longevity clinics in Europe. And on the 5th, we'll have the opportunity to learn from other companies and organizations that help people in being or becoming healthy and happy. And it doesn't stop with the inspiration and the experience. We will also do some workshop. We will have consumer companies present their health strategies to learn from their successes and ongoing challenges. And half of the day of the 5th of February, we will make all companies and brands workshop and ideate together on these ongoing health and well-being challenges. The purpose of the event is really to help these companies in finding each other, finding common grounds, maybe finding ways to collaborate together and move forward. Because being successful in health and well-being requires partnerships. This is how you thrive in this healthusiasm world. And so during our event, which is called the Healthusiasm Lab Experience Days, we will focus on bringing these companies together and making a change for health consumers out there. Because after all, everybody wants to be healthy and happy. And it's really what matters most to all of us, to each of you, the listener. But it also means, this healthusiasm trend also means that every business is a health business. We really believe that this healthusiasm trend is one of the major macro trends in the world today. And healthusiasm could really be the growth engine for any type of business.
This is one of the things, it's an enduring trend precisely because it will take place over decades.
Yeah.
That's the important thing to remember. It is, I'm sure, an enduring trend, but which is a lot better than being a flash in the pan. But the downside is, don't expect everybody to change their behavior simultaneously or immediately. It takes time. But in terms of the increased importance accorded to it, yeah, you're definitely right.
That was Rory Sutherland, the vice chairman of Ogilvy, one of the world's most significant marketing agencies. Rory is also the author of the best-selling book Alchemy. If you haven't read it, go check it out. It reads very easily and it's super insightful. You can also go to YouTube because he has quite some popular TED Talks out there. But I believe that the best way to describe him is being one of the most famous marketeers in the world. Why is he so famous? Because his views are considered groundbreaking, and I believe that almost every marketeer in the world is following him. What is so special? He's known to mix marketing with behavioral science. So he really studies how people really think and make choices, not what or how they say they'll do it. And I got the chance to interview Rory because he was the opening keynote at the BAM Congress. He brought his talk, which is called Marketing is from Venus, Finance is from Mars. And in that talk, he explained how companies tend to overspend on rational improvements and underspend on the psychological magic that actually changes behavior. He says that marketing should really be allowed to care more about humans, about their feelings, about behavior, or anything that is meaningful for them. Marketing is from Venus. And of course, healthhusiasm is all about the emotional and personal drivers that make people care about their own health. It is Venus at its purest form. So in a way, if you will, Rory explained why healthhusiasm works. Because healthhusiasm shows where organizations can win by embracing the Venus side, the human side of business. And when you say human side, you immediately think of health, of course, because health is the most important thing for all humans. And what we see is that people start realizing, consumers start realizing that they need to continue focusing on their health. It's not just something that you do now and then, it is always important. Listen to what Sophie Maxwell Brown had to say when I talked with her about the healthhusiasm trend.
I've been working, I think, in it seriously for probably about the last 10 to 15 years in terms of the growing importance in taking it into CPG and how actually you deliver health to a consumer that previously probably didn't realize that they had such an ongoing need for it.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah, and so, it used to be more of a bandwagon that we jumped on and off of as consumers, something that occasionally we might get sick or we might put on a bit of weight or, we might feel like, we wanted to make sure that we were aging well. And I think now, obviously, there's just far more of a embedded realization with consumers that it's something that they need to really invest in, monitor, get educated on.
Sophie is a partner at We Want More London, an independent multidisciplinary design studio founded in Belgium. I have to say I really enjoyed talking to her because much like me, she is a futurist, she is a strategist, and she's also a global keynote speaker. But most of all, her insights were very much in line with my views, which is always nice to have, and to confirm your ideas with others. But as you could hear from her, she has seen health becoming really something important for consumers. And she specifically mentioned CPG, consumer packaged goods. Now, if you're less familiar with this term, it refers to things like food, drinks, toiletries, cleaning supplies, and basically any other item that moves quickly on store shelves. Think about anything that ends up in your shopping basket, let's say. And that view is exactly what the healthhusiasm trend stands for. Now, I was a keynote speaker at the BAM Congress a couple of years ago, and my talk, which was called Healthhusiasm, no surprises there, explained how this health consumer trend came about. It's driven by the technological, social, psychological, and economic evolutions we've seen in the past years. And so on my YouTube channel, you can still find that healthhusiasm keynote I've given a couple of years ago at the BAM Congress. But my ties with the Belgian Association of Marketing goes a bit deeper than just speaking at their congress. The chairman of the Belgian Association of Marketing, Chris Michiels, was actually one of the proofreaders of my second healthhusiasm book called Trends and the Transformation Economy. This means he got to read the book before others did. And he also was in a position to help me make the book better before it came out. And that's exactly what he did. He really gave me some valuable feedback, and I believe he helped me to improve the book indeed. Chris also features with a quote on the back cover of my book, and here's how the quote reads. Only one human truth truly matters. People want to live a healthy and happy life. And this book, the Trends and the Transformation book, contains refreshing models and inspiring examples demonstrating how marketeers can respond to these deeper consumer needs. And indeed, the book touches upon 17 different industries and how these industries are moving into the health business. Because health marketing really provides enormous potential for marketeers of any type of business.
We used it as a metaphor for brand building and marketing in this instance, but I think, as you point out, health is becoming increasingly important. We're seeing the greatest growth in it as a sector, with some amazing statistics around, obviously, the potential for the sector.
This was Sophie Maxwell Brown again, confirming the enormous potential of healththusiasm. But perhaps it's valuable to bring you some real numbers, some actual numbers here. Let me quote you some numbers from various researches that were done globally by major marketing firms. I'll start with Havas, a global marketing firm who did a global meaningful brand study in 2023. And one of the key numbers in there was that 71% of people globally said that improving health and well-being is key for brands. Another study by Ogilvy, which is called The Wellness Gap from 2020, had similar numbers. 73% of people said that brands need a health and wellness strategy as part of their core mission. And perhaps even more remarkable was the study done by Lululemon in 2024, the Global Wellbeing Report, that said that 89% of people are taking more action than a year ago to improve their well-being physically, emotionally, and mentally. So these are incredible numbers. If that doesn't confirm the importance of healththusiasm, well, then maybe the following remarkable story might help as well. The Belgian Association of Marketing provided to all the visitors a magazine with 35 articles. Each article answered one of the 35 killer marketing questions, and it sort of was a vision for 2030, if you will. There were no surprises in there, and it wouldn't surprise you either that the second article mentioned in the magazine was actually about health marketing. Let me briefly recap it for you. The article starts by pointing out that Belgium is facing big public health challenges, like any country in the world, basically. What we see is that obesity is rising, chronic diseases are growing, and our lifestyle isn't really helping at all. At the same time, huge new opportunities are opening thanks to technology, thanks to AI, and thanks to innovation. Then the article makes one big, bold claim. Marketing can become a powerful tool to improve the nation's health by 2030. Not marketing as we know it, but a new kind of marketing that helps people live healthier lives. This new marketing has three missions. First, it needs to inform people with clear, trustworthy health messages. Second, it needs to make healthier choices easier by designing better experiences across food, retail, mobility, leisure, tech, and amongst any other industries, if you will. And then third, it needs to motivate people with nudges, guidance, and personalized advice. This was again in line with what Sophie Maxwell Brown from We Want More mentioned during our conversation as well.
One of the key things that I've seen in consumer branding is just understanding it. Yeah. You know, that how do I, eat well? How do I take care of myself in the right way? And it might sound super simplistic and like, really? But what I've observed, even when we've designed brands where the expression you think is really instinctual and intuitive and visceral even, is that there is still a knowledge gap, I think, for consumers. You know, we're still educating audiences in terms of what's the right things to buy. You know, and this isn't necessarily consumers' fault either. I think, it has become complex. There's loads of, fake news around health as well, isn't there? And also what products can deliver. So we are, definitely working to make that education easier, to make the desire for these brands greater as time goes on.
And clearer in their proposition, what they bring and what they can bring to the health consumer in the end.
Exactly right. Yeah. If you say something is made in with clean ingredients. You know, is that true? Yeah. Whose legislation is that based on? Then you have brands that look like they could be using clean ingredients or that they could be organic, and actually that it's just visual language, you know.
Exactly. I always say when I get asked by companies, companies that previously had little or no affinity with health, what is the first thing that we need to do? I always say, inform whether your product or service is healthy and where it is not healthy. This is the first thing that you need to do. But then comes the second step. Then you need to build something for them. And I think you work in design.
Yes, that's right.
I can imagine that also in design, you really think about, then it's not just about education, but it's also about, what can you bring to your clients with the products that you design in itself and the service that you design. Could you tell some more about that?
Yeah, completely. You're totally right. It obviously, a desirable visual expression really helps, and one that's differentiated from what's out there at the moment, which is, there tends to be an aesthetic around health and well-being as well.
And I'm so happy to see that, by the way, because if you look at a hospital,
yes,
it's awful, and then you have these longevity health clinics, wellness clinics who are so well designed, which already makes you feel better.
Totally.
Just by the design, right?
Yeah, it really does. There are, there are all the kind of visual semantics that are so important in creating a holistic world of a brand as well. So as you say, it's thinking about the whole experience, the sensorial and the phonetic experience is really important as well. I think that's where a brand like Almond Resorts did such groundbreaking work, because they really created a completely different experience than had been available before in wellness travel. And it's so unique, so sensory at such a new level that it is a perfect case study in terms of, it's obviously super premium as well.
Well, that's how it starts.
That's how it starts, you're right. And it's the trickle down, the lessons that can be learned. But I think for me, what they did that was so important was the reduction, of what they took away rather than what they added. The idea being that you were completely transported from your everyday life. And you and I were just talking about wellness travel. So it just fits into that conversation.
Yeah, I always say that travel companies are basically the most innovative industry when it comes to value creation, because people want value for their money because they only travel once or twice a year.
Yes.
So when they invest that amount of money, they want something in return. And that value changed over time very quickly.
Yeah.
And so nowadays what people want is not just to get out of their house when they're going on holiday. They want to come back from a holiday and feel transformed when they return to their home.
Yes.
And that is the biggest change for me. And I think it's a very great example. And also what you said, the experience changed. We went from a customer experience economy to a transformation economy.
Yes.
Where it's not just about convenience.
Yeah.
Where it's not just about personalization, but it's really about what experience makes you feel better.
Yes.
Or healthier or happier, whatever it may do to you. But it's not just about convenience. It's what makes you feel better, intrinsically better.
Yeah.
And that to me is a big part of the answering the needs of health consumers and itself.
The article in the BAM magazine confirms this as follows. It's not only about brands selling products anymore. It's about brands shaping behavior, building healthier habits, and supporting health goals. In this view, every sector has a role. Travel companies should make people feel transformed when they return home, as I just was explaining in my conversation with Sophie. Food companies can reduce unhealthy ingredients, as she was also mentioning. Retailers can make healthy products easier to find. Pharma and medtech can focus more on prevention. Tech companies can build smarter solutions that help people stay well. Basically, the key idea is very simple. The health of Belgians is not just a job for hospitals or governments. It's a job of an entire ecosystem. Businesses and their marketing teams are part of that ecosystem, and they can drive real change. And that is exactly what Healthusiasm does. This is where Healthusiasm comes in. Healthusiasm says that people want to be healthy, and they reward brands that help them. Consumers really expect companies to care, to guide, and to inspire. So when marketing becomes a force for better health, it's not only good for society, it's good for business. Healthy brands perform better because they fit what truly people aspire to in their lives. So in short, good marketing can make Belgium healthier, or any country for that matter. And healthyism explains why this works. Now, in that view, in that vision, the Belgian Marketing Association also recently started a health and well-being think tank that is focused on exactly that. They believe that marketing isn't just about selling stuff. Marketing shapes how we eat, how we move, how we live. And here's what can be read on their webpage. They say that right now, 75% of Belgians expect brands to care about their well-being, which is 100% in line with the studies that I found on Havas and Ogilvy, for example. So the Belgian Association of Marketing says that brands have a chance, and even, if you will, a responsibility to make people healthier, which, by the way, is the subtitle of my first health enthusiasm book, Making Customers Healthier and Happier. And then they explain how marketing can actually help. And this is, again, in line with what Sophie was mentioning as well. First of all, they need to educate and raise awareness. Give the people truthful info about food, lifestyle, and health. Encourage transparency, like showing nutrition scores, avoiding health washing, using real science. The second thing that they can do is they can shift what's available and accessible. They could reformulate products, make products with less sugar, less saturated fat and salt, make healthier options affordable, and preferably stop pushing junk food promotions. And I would say especially those targeting kids. As a third thing that marketing could do is, of course, they can innovate and experiment. Create prevention campaigns around healthy eating and active living. Use data and digital tools to give people personalized health suggestions. And work with the health sector expert to make health messages credible while they are still running a business. And this is exactly what we also try to do with the Health Enthusiasm Lab Experience Days. This is exactly the three things that we want to do. We want to educate and raise awareness by inspiring them. We want to shift what's available and accessible. So we want to help them think about what are the things that consumers really need. And we want these companies to collaborate together to innovate and experiment in this field around the health enthusiasm trends. And also, this is what BAM, the Belgian Association of Marketing, wants to do. They want marketers to really rethink their role, not just as sellers, but as storytellers, change agents, building brands that care about health as much as profit. Because every business is a health brand, as I love to say. And by doing so, they really want to aim to build a community. They want to bring marketing people together that are working together, that are sharing tools, data, best practices, partnering with perhaps even public health institutions to make health-focused marketing real and effective. Again, this is exactly what the Health Enthusiasm Lab Experience Days will be about. And I also just quickly want to mention something that the Belgian Association of Marketing just recently launched, because they just launched their first project in Brussels. Because yes, Brussels, the residents of Brussels, the people that live in Brussels, they give their life satisfaction a score of 7.5 out of 10. And that is pretty close, just slightly below the Belgian average. And we do know, of course, that the biggest factor behind that score is health, whether it is physical or mental or emotional. So that score is pretty okay. But the picture isn't all that rosy. Because if you look at other numbers, we see that 1 in 4 people say that their health is poor. They say that social isolation is rising, partly because so many people live alone. The housing quality is a real issue for many. And noise pollution, obviously in big cities, the noise pollution is affecting everyday well-being. So BAM says, what can marketeers do now? They can, and this confirms all the things that we just mentioned before, they can help make healthy choices, to make sure that at least the choices that people make are easy and default choices, even if you will. They can help design products and services that people can actually afford, so make it affordable. Create more social connection through communities, loyalty programs, shared experiences. And finally, also build user experiences that work for everyone. Young, old, able, less able. So the Belgian Association of Marketing calls for all marketeers that work in and around Brussels to turn these insights into action and co-create something meaningful for the well-being of the city of Brussels. Small design choices can really create a big change in a city like Brussels. And again, this is exactly the spirit of healthhusiasm. People want healthier, happier lives. And brands can help make that possible through smart, human-centered decisions. 100% in line with what we try to achieve with the Healthusiasm Lab Experience Days. We want to gather all Belgian marketeers into a community that collaborates and make the quality of Belgians' life better.
I mean, what's really good about what's coming out of that is people are thinking, what's my quality of life?
Exactly.
You know, what is my human experience?
Yeah.
And maybe in a world where we've been really worried about being too busy, too anxious.
Yeah, it's part of it.
It's, you know, we're now thinking, actually, hang on a minute, how does this make me feel?
Yeah.
You know, how can I make that better? Am I putting my efforts in terms of energy, but also financially in the right place?
Yeah.
Is this actually improving my life, or am I just jumping on the same bandwagon as everyone else? You know?
Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, I think for me, working for an agency that spans all kinds of sectors, wellness is the sector to watch at the moment in terms of where some of the most interesting work can be done, for sure.
Yeah, and it's applicable to many industries as well. So
yeah, it really is. I mean, where would you not want it?
Yeah, exactly. With these words,
I'd
love to thank you for this brief conversation.
Perfect. Nice to meet you.
Sophie finished our conversation by urging brands and companies to focus on the quality of life of their consumers. How can you as a consumer company or a consumer brand contribute to the quality of life of your consumers? Quality of life is actually a concept that has been used in healthcare for many, many years. But I personally am more than happy to see that this concept is also moving more and more into the consumer world as well. Because that is exactly what health marketing is about quality of life, about feeling good.
Health marketing is booming, as we all know. Christophe wrote books about it, but it's all about well-being. It's all about longevity. It's all about feeling good in society today, but also in your own body.
That was Kristel Vanderlinden. She's a good friend of mine. She's a femtech futurist, cultural researcher, and marketing strategy expert with a specific focus on women. Because yes, women can benefit from an additional focus. And even though there has already been some improvements in recent years, Kristel explained why this focus remains very important still today. In healthcare, things are not working out for women yet. And definitely also in health marketing, women could still benefit from this additional focus, if you will. Listen to some of the examples she gave me from her book, Evaluation.
When we look at women and how women perceive health, there's so much going on lately about realizing that healthcare wasn't made for women or not enough.
True.
That a lot of treatments aren't based on female bodies. Physicians are not always open to the female, what they call female hysteria, whilst actually women just think differently about their body or about sickness, because they also think about society as a whole. If they are sick, what will happen with my children? So they think, I think more holistically when it comes to their own health. And when we look at marketing and when we look at society, and we already have that boom of well-being, we already have that booming for all consumers.
Yes.
But specifically towards women, there's this realization finally that indeed in healthcare, it is an untapped potential. Indeed, in healthcare, a lot of things are not working out for women. And this growing knowledge of it makes it a very interesting topic to explore. Yeah.
In your book, you've had a ton of examples, and I think it's been years since I read your book, so maybe you need to refresh my mind. But I can imagine that there's quite some examples in there as well, where you see companies who maybe were not focused on health or healthcare at all, who also now focus on women's health and maybe start thinking about what is the role of, women in general, and how can we help them with their health or well-being?
Yeah, you see, for example, in data when we are talking about wearables to track your heart rhythm, you see today, of course, a lot of explosion in hormonal apps, hormonal wearables on your period, on your menopause, tracking it, and also then giving advice how to better it. That's, I think, a category where it's booming. Food, when you look at food supplements industry, today there is this big rave about protein foods, but if we look at functional foods, can't we have later on a menopause yogurt or a period margarine or whatever that enhances certain elements that women need at those periods in time? We're looking at, I think, also healthcare as such, hospitals, how they are created, but also the spaces where women perhaps feel more safe in certain areas.
The crash test dummies.
The crash test dummies, that's a big issue. And cars, I think when women have, or the likeliness when women drive a car, they have 74% to get more injured than a man and 17% more chance to die when they're driving a car. And pregnant women, because we don't talk about that, it's really a big issue. It's the number one reason of fetus death in the world, and still we are not aware of that, and legislation doesn't take that into account.
Oh, that's amazing. And I think also, I mean, if you look at, you were talking about pregnant women, it made me think of a company that I worked with, a supermarket, who really was like, on their website had a complete segment for everything related to being pregnant, becoming pregnant, being pregnant, and even post-pregnancy, to help them with the right products, the right food,
Fantastic.
the right... and I think this is where it needs to be going, where you can help people with their women with their health and well-being. If there would be like, maybe this is a difficult question and I'm catching you off guard here, but if you would love to work for one non-healthcare related brand on something related to women's health or women's well-being, is there like top of mind one company that you say, oh, I really would love to do something with them, because if they could do this, this would be magnificent or might be game-changing for women? Difficult question.
That's a difficult question, because I think there is so many game-changing stuff to do for women on so many levels. Of course, whilst working on it, I'm also a femtech strategist, so I help companies create new innovations. I'm thinking indeed about supermarkets and products and food products. Would love perhaps to, my idea was to create a menopause chocolate. I would love to do that, for example. Why not? Mixing pleasure with also functions. Perfect idea. I already have a name for the brand. It's not hot chocolate.
Don't say that.
No, don't take it.
Kristel's idea to create a chocolate for women with menopause is actually not such a bad idea, or not such a crazy idea. Because there's a hospital in Belgium, in Kortrijk, which is called AZ Groeningen, and they teamed up with a chocolatier called the Chocolate Line, which is led by Julius Persone. And what they did is they made 2 special pralines for patients, so chocolates for patients. And these aren't just ordinary sweets. They're designed for real medical needs, for people who can't chew well or who must take bitter contrast fluids during tests. So one praline masks bad tastes during swallowing or imaging procedures, so that patients don't have to drink these very unpleasant liquids. And the other praline helps people who struggle to chew or swallow, giving them something soft, easy, but still tasty and comforting. And this really shows health and well-being don't just need medical treatments, or at least not just the treatments, because small design choices like making food pleasant, gentle, and accessible can improve patients' comfort and quality of life. Here we are again, the quality of life. And that is pure health-enthusiasm spirit. Choose humans over cold procedures and use creativity to make health feel humane and alive again. And making people humane and alive again is also what Telenet, a Belgian telecom company, did at the BAM Congress, because they had their own stage with, I would say, a very peculiar focus. Laetitia Descamps will explain this more into detail.
As a telecom brand, people would never expect us to host that kind of stage. And I will explain you, the stage is really a kind of bubble, kind of moment where you take a step aside.
Yeah,
and
it's
you're
very
really
cozy. I mean,
it's super cozy, and the goal is really for the people to have a moment of disconnection in order to reconnect to themselves. And by disconnection, we mean really digital disconnection. So we invite people to either let their mobile phone in a safe lockers where the mobile phone can get charged, or to keep them aside while also charging. But the idea is to really stay away from screens, to be in the moment and to listen to inspirational keynote speakers around well-being.
Yeah, and that is in itself already interesting, right? Because before this conversation we were talking and you said like when you went to conferences you see a lot of people are all the time on their phone, right?
Absolutely.
Not even listening to speakers.
No.
And that's what you wanted to like go against, right?
That's the thing. When you go to Congress, BAM or another kind of Congress, you see people are still multitasking. And by multitasking, they are attending a keynote, they are listening to it passively while checking their LinkedIn, WhatsApp notification, incoming emails. They are never fully 100% into the moment. And that's what we tried to ask people today, to play the game, because it became a habit to have your phone right into your hand, always on. And we really ask them to stay away from their screen and to really focus 100% to the keynote.
Yeah. And you did that in two amazing ways, I think. And that's what I was so surprised by. First of all, you have the installation by Dries de Porter.
Absolutely, yeah.
How does he call himself? Is it the
Recharge Excel.
Recharge? That's a project.
That's the name of the stand, and Dries qualifies himself as a mix of arts passionate together with innovation.
Yeah, and he's a technology nerd.
Absolutely,
anyway.
but in a very artistic way,
Very artistic
and
way.
unexpected way. Yeah.
And so, what we see here is that you have some sort of amphitheater. I don't know if that is the right word in English, where people just basically lay down, put their phone next to them, and if they lay down, the phone recharges.
Yeah, absolutely. So next to the bench, you have this camera that really detects the body moves. So when people really take a chill position and even close their eyes, the phone will get charged. From the moment they sit a bit more straight, more into like less chill position, then the phone stops charging. And that's the philosophy of the activation is recharge yourself while you're also recharging your phone.
Yeah.
People are always conscious about, I need to charge my phone, the battery is almost low. But they never consider their own human battery. How is my personal battery doing?
Yes. And indeed, and I think what was also remarkable, and that's the second thing that struck me, was you had 4 speakers today, I think, 4 or 5?
Yes, 4. Yeah.
Tell me what they were talking about.
We have different speakers, so we have really scientific speakers, professors in university, and we also have more digital expert speakers. And the common point between the speakers is to learn to really stay away from screens and the benefits it brings to you as a person, to your brain, to how you feel, your mood, your emotions, but also subsequently on your performance at work. So one of the keynote that we had today, I think it was Marie, she was explaining that people are so multitasking. They have thousands of tabs open in their minds and they want to do everything, 100%, even more. But actually, while doing too many things, you don't do things correctly. And sometimes just doing one big thing at a time and doing 100% to the max, you will perform even better and get it even better done.
What this telecom company did may come as a surprise. And yet not, of course. I mean, we live in a healthyism world, and those initiatives are super valuable for consumers today. And that was actually also the message of another article in the BAM magazine with the 35 killer marketing questions for 2030. The article was titled Brands and Mental Health, Going Beyond Good Intentions. The core message of the article was that people now expect brands to make mental well-being seriously. Not with nice words, but with real actions like this Telenet stage indeed. Because we live in a society under pressure, uncertainty, digital overload, climate stress, and economic worries that all hit our mental health. Consumers feel it every day, and they look to brands for support, for comfort, for stability. The article said that in 2030 that will be a turning point. And honestly, I don't believe that it will be 2030. I think we are already at that turning point. Because brands no longer get away with well-being as a marketing team. People really demand structural change, products, services, and these types of experiences like the Telenet stage that truly support mental resilience. But there's a challenge, of course. In some circles, talking about well-being is still seen as a weakness. So brands, they really need courage. They must take well-being as a part of their DNA, not a one-week campaign. There's also this warning, try to avoid purpose washing if you do marketing. So if you talk about mental health, your actions must match your message. Empathy, consistency, and credibility, they all matter. The strongest examples, they come from brands that work with experts, patient groups, healthcare partners, a bit like what Telenet did as well on their stage. And not just to look good, but to design the real solutions that help people feel better in daily life. Small interventions count, like reducing digital overload, making work less stressful, or creating moments of calm, again, like the Telenet stage. And this is exactly what health-thusiasm is all about. Health-thusiasm says that people are increasingly health-driven in how they shop, what they choose, and how they live. Mental well-being is one of their top priorities. They reward brands that help them feel good, safe, and supported. Mental health isn't just a niche. It becomes the core expectations of modern consumers. Health consumers want brands that care for the human behind the customer. And so the conclusion is pretty simple. Marketing must evolve. It must stop treating well-being as a trend and start treating it as a responsibility. Brands that support mental resilience will start, or at least will stay, relevant. And those that don't, well, they will fade out of sync with what people truly need, what matters most to them, their health and well-being. That is the heart of health-thusiasm. This is the heart of what health consumers want. Brands that help people live better, whether it is emotionally, mentally, or physically, those brands will lead the future. And this is also what we try to achieve with our Health-Thusiasm Lab Experience Days. We want to gather those brands and help those brands to help their customers, their consumers to live better. And this is also what Telenet did when they set up this stage. It was a brand activation campaign, sure, but one with impact, one with health-thusiasm.
And you're responsible for brand activation, and your brand activation campaign for a company that sells connectivity, telecom, even smartphones. You kind of motivate people to not go on their screens as much. And I think that is so wonderful. And this is so health-thusiasm. And this is really why I wanted to speak with you. I really love the brand activation that you did here.
Thank you.
And I think it's the one and only right way to do it, because people need to be more, aware of what these phones can do to them and their lives. And
absolutely.
Really well.
Our job is to provide connectivity, and that's the essence of our company. But providing connectivity entertainment doesn't mean that you encourage over digital consumption. You have also, as a brand, you have a responsibility also to say, okay, we bring the connectivity to your home, to your mobile phone, but bear in mind that you also need to take some time off screen.
One of the speakers on the Telenet stage also had a very remarkable health-thusiasm business story, one that required a 180 degrees turn in personal and professional life. In 2018, Charlotte van Teukom, she started her first company in social media, which was focused on influencing, and getting people hooked to their phones, let's say. But then after a couple of years, she felt like she needed to rethink her business. She saw family, friends, children, and clients always on their phone, and that started to feel difficult to her. So she wrote a book called Scrollaholics and started the exact opposite company called Quiet, with a Y instead of an I. And that business helps other businesses to use social media in a way that is less addictive, or let's say more enthusiastic. Here is her story.
Thing we were doing was to make sure that you were glued to your screen the entire time, that you or everyone else, of course, were entertained by the Instagram ads, by the content of the influencers. That's how we made money. Yeah. So we followed all the trends, we followed all the algorithms, everything. So that felt difficult. And then, of course, on the personal side, I needed to follow the trends. I needed to be there everywhere all the time. I needed to be in contact with all the best influencers. What are they doing? What are they saying? And I just couldn't do it anymore. It was so difficult to see, especially the behavior for myself then towards my children or towards my friends and clients. I was there physically, but I wasn't there mentally.
And so then you switched, you did a 180 turn. So what is it exactly that you do now then?
So I sold the agency, which was of course difficult because it was not my baby, but it was my first business baby, let's say, we'll call it like that. So it was very difficult, but I couldn't, again, follow the mission anymore. So I wrote a book about it, which is called Scrollaholics. Scrollaholics. How it impacts your brain, your sleep, your relationships, colleagues and friends. And I started a new startup, Quiet, which helps people, especially in companies, transform the way they work, with their smartphones, with online communication and everything.
Yeah. I recently did a keynote for a company on energy. And one of the findings that I discovered when I did the research and I was preparing the keynote was that 80% of the workforce in Europe loses 3 hours switching between tools. And more than 80% does not feel like they have enough energy to perform all the tasks that they need to do. So if I understand correctly, this is part of what you try to solve as well then?
Yeah, exactly. Because companies lose 18% of their budgets is just thrown away towards social media and everything because of their employees checking their smartphone the entire time. So productivity goes down, creativity goes down, but exactly the employee still has a feeling that they're burned out and that they have no energy left. Why? Because they think that scrolling or being on their smartphone is like a small break from work. But in reality, it's just extra work for your brain, and you will train your brain to all the time be distracted, to look for the easy way out. And every task that you will do in your work will feel like a burden.
Yeah. And does that mean that you also, because a lot of these companies have internal tools which resemble basically social media. I think Microsoft has such tools as Slack, for example. You also train them and explain them how to do that then and how to manage that? Or?
Yeah, because, for example, what is important is that leaders or teams in general, that they have good solutions or rules of procedures, if you want to call it that way. That, for example, Slack, what do I expect from you? If I send you a message on Slack, what are the expectations? Do you want me to reply in 10 minutes? Do you want me to reply in 2 hours? What are the expectations on Slack? What are the expectations via email? There's no expectation on Slack to answer within 2 minutes, because if I had that expectation, I would call you. So it's really to be very clear on, is Slack within 2 hours, mail 5 hours, or the next day? I mean, it's a clear expectation from the leader, from management, towards the team.
Yeah. Did you convince companies not to go on social media, to be differently present on social media, to not, feed into that machine? Do you do that as well? Do you train them? Do you educate them on maybe be present differently on it?
Yes, especially towards the content that they make, that it's not addictive content, but more inspirational content. Okay. To more have let's say a showcase page on Instagram or whatever that will refer them towards another long format content. For example, a podcast, a Substack, something long format, or something offline like events or something else. Yeah. But they just have a showcase page because, of course, it's difficult to promote anything not being on Instagram, but to not create content, the Reels, the TikToks, that is, addictive.
Yeah, I love that idea, actually. And it does require having different KPIs then. I
Yeah,
suppose.
exactly.
Yeah, it's
The
not about
KPIs are
fees.
completely different. And it's also, I mean, that's known for a long time, of course. It's not about the number of followers, it's really about the number of actual customers.
Yeah.
So you can have 110,000 followers and 0 customers. That doesn't make any sense anyway. So the vanity metrics are not important.
Thinking while we're talking right now, I think I know your next book,
Which will it be?
which will be how to deal with AI, because AI has a similar type of
AI-aholics.
AI-aholics or something. I don't know, but I mean, all these AIs are also built with these smart ways of keeping you addicted, and they're asking a question at the end of your answer. Do you want me to?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's always they apply these same psychological tools as social media is using to keep getting back to you. And what we're getting is a lot of AI slop and AI work slop even. So maybe here's a...
I think that's a really good idea. I was thinking about champagne-aholics, but AI-aholics seems better.
Yeah, well, let's do it together.
Great.
Thank you for this conversation.
Thank you.
Even though we were laughing at the end of that conversation, I was actually not joking around when saying that I wanted to write that book with her. At least the narrative of healthy use of digital tools will radically shift towards AI in the next months and years, according to me. I mean, the same danger lurks in every technology that presents us with shortcuts. And let's face it, all the technologies that we have seen in the past 20 to 30 years, they all present a shortcut to something that in real life would require much more attention, much more effort, much more time, much more energy. Technology presents us with that shortcut. And I mean, if you look at social media was a shortcut for friendship, right? The aspiration it so-called help you pursue was that of relationships, friendships. By one click of the button, you could be connected to a friend. However, in reality, if we look at today's society, we never felt so disconnected from each other. Loneliness is one of the major health issues in the world right now. And I believe that we will see the exact same thing happening with AI. It is meant to democratize knowledge. So with one click, you'll have all the knowledge at your fingertip. But it risks leading to capability atrophy, the loss of being able to do things ourselves, to reflect ourselves, to be creative ourselves, to write, to think. If you have a question, instead of going back to your own brain, you might just want to push that button and have that perfect answer right away. So that is one shortcut that will impact our health and well-being again. Here's another example. Social media became a shortcut for information. The aspiration it so-called helped you pursue was that of consciousness, of being aware of what is happening. However, here again, it led more to being disinformed than actually being informed. You know, we often say that, social media, it sparked the mobilization of the Arab Spring in 2010, 2011, and that was a good thing. But right now, social media is mobilizing everyone around their own beliefs. And it has led to a society where I think we've never been that polarized before. Because everyone only listens to their own opinions. There are in these types of echo chambers on social media where their own beliefs are constantly confirmed and hardly ever challenged. So people have more and more difficulty to listen to others, let alone accepting the other's point of view. And again, here we will see the exact same thing happening with AI. As I've written in my last book, people will be dealing with echo persona, which is basically the echo chamber of AI. People will be talked to by AI, like a ChatGPT or a Gemini, whatever. They will be talked to in such a way that it always confirms their own beliefs, and probably even more than it does now, or than today is the case on social media. And because of that, people will find it easier to talk to AI than to real people. We already see today the major use case for AI is companionship, is to be talking about their lives. And why? Because there is no friction in talking with AI. You'll never have a difficult discussion. They won't contradict you necessarily. So as a result of this, it is not unlikely that people will lose the ability of dealing with other people. Much like we lost the ability of listening understanding or even partially agreeing with others' opinion on social media today. So yes, I really do believe that we will have a similar situation with AI as we're having today with social media. And yes, I would love to write that book with you, Jasmine, if you listen to this show. And I really think even because of the power that AI has, I really think that maybe the situation that we now see with social media as being negative one, I really think that the situation with AI risks being even more dangerous or more impactful for our health and well-being. I talk about that in my keynote, Holistic Futures, which describes or argues again that brands and companies will have a role to play in safeguarding that health and well-being of their customers. And they have a role to play in it by the way that they apply technology in their work and their communication and their solutions. A bit like what Scrollaholics, Yasmin from Scrollaholics and Quiet was saying, is that we need to really think about what type of social media we want to be as a company. Do we want to be an addictive social media, or do we want it to be a reference page? I think those type of questions will be as relevant when it comes to AI. And also that is health marketing. This is also health marketing. That is the healthusiasm trend that I'm always talking about. And sure, I mean, life becomes more complex, the work becomes more difficult. This won't be easy for brands and companies. But there are so many things that you can do already today. So maybe before I finish up this episode, and maybe to give you a little piece of advice from one of the smartest people in the world, definitely when it comes to marketing, let's go back to Rory Sutherland and listen to his advice on health consumer marketing.
And what would be the one tip that you give to people or organizations that want to focus on health and well-being? Don't overpromise? Is that what I
meet the customer halfway.
Meet the customer.
Yeah, so one of the things that sometimes happens, I think, in health is the perfect is the enemy of the good.
Yeah.
That you set a bar so unrealistically high that effectively it seems unattainable.
Like the longevity trend.
You've got it, exactly, yeah. Well, if it's too big an ask. Or rather, it's too big an immediate ask. And therefore, also, the other bit of advice is Chairman Mao, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Exactly.
Most behavioural change takes place gradually rather than immediately.
Yes. Thank you, Rory, for
absolute pleasure.
Insights.
No. Thank you for the book. Thank you.
Some very valuable piece of advice that is not only important for health marketing, if you ask me, but also for the entire healthcare ecosystem. Do it step by step. Don't ambition to do it perfect right away, but do it now. So, as we're coming to the end of the episode, I really hope I've been able to make you think. Secretly, I hope I've convinced you even about the fact that health consumers are the largest, most important group of consumers today, about the fact that every business should take into account the deeper needs of these health consumers. I mean, this healthhusiasm thing, this healthhusiasm trend, this has been my mission for almost 9 years now. Every single person wants to be healthy and happy, and that's why every business becomes a health business. Now, if you're not fully convinced yet, here is my final effort. Here are some final numbers I'd like to share with you. Already, 75% of your consumers require brands to do more to improve their health and well-being. In your industry, and each industry, at least 25% of the value created in your industry is driven by health-related purchasing decisions. And although people have cut down on all expenses in recent years, they are spending 16% more on health and well-being year over year, according to the study by VML. And then finally, the Meaningful Brands research by Havas showed that brands that inspire healthier lifestyles perform 38% better than average brands. Still not convinced? Well, just go to healthhusiasm.com for some more information. Or maybe even better, Join us in Antwerp, Belgium on the 4th and 5th of February for the Healthusiasm Lab Experience Days, where you will not only be inspired by Healthusiasm, experience some Healthusiasm, but even create an actionable roadmap together with your peers from complementary companies. Join us on the 4th and 5th of February. You can find more information on the website, which is events.healthusiasmlab.com. For now, it's time to wrap up this Healthusiasm podcast at the BAM Congress for Marketing. Thank you for listening. If you like this show, hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. For now, I'd like to thank our guests for their Healthusiasm. Thank you, Rory Sutherland, Kristel Vanderlinden, Sophie Maxwell Brown, Laetitia Descamps, and Yasmin van Teukom. We are the Healthusiasm panel, and we'd love to see you again next month for some more Healthusiasm. Ciao.